We will start our first Docker session by knowing what is the necessity of Docker, why we have to use Docker, and what is the technology before Docker evolves. To know about this, we need to understand what is application development stack. So whenever we are working in any software project, we will come across these kind of terminologies like front-end developer, back-end developer, database developers, like this. What is this front-end developer? Whenever we open any web pages, we will see the user interface like text boxes, the buttons, check boxes. These are all developed by the front-end developers by the help of technologies like HTML, CSS, Bootstrap, JavaScript, and some client-side frameworks like Angular and React. Next, we have backend developers. Backend developers are developers like Python developer, Java developer, uh, dot, um, .NET developers. They will write the actual business logic. They will write code for the data processing. They will write the code for the authentication. Next, we have database developers. Database developers will design the database. That means whenever we open any website, when we are providing our username and password, this username and password will be stored in the databases. Not only username and password, the user data will be always stored in the database. So the database developers will design this database by using Oracle, MS SQL, Postgres, MongoDB, like that. Next, we have version controller tools like Git, GitHub. Then we have build tools like Maven and Gradle, which will help for to compile code and to manage dependencies and to make the project automation. Next, we have web servers. Web servers will be useful to host the websites. That means, suppose we are going to host any website in a Windows server, then we will use IIS. IIS means Microsoft Internet Information Services. This like that. If you are going to host any website in Linux machine, then we will use Apache HTTP server or Nginx servers. Now, what is the relation between the Docker and all these technologies? Actually, as a DevOps engineer or Docker engineer, we have to integrate all these technologies. Integration means the front end should be communicated with the back end. The back end should be communicated with the databases. That means MongoDB should be communicated with the Angular. Angular should be communicated with the Python. Then only we can say the project is ready. Ready means it should be um, available to the end user. For this, previously we will use one technology called virtualization. For to make this virtualization happen, we are using a software called hypervisor. A hypervisor software that makes virtualization is possible. Actually, what is hypervisor? We are going to install multiple operating systems in one machine. How we can do? We can install several guest operating systems like Linux, Windows in one main operating system, which is called host operating system. Suppose there are many advantages and disadvantages with this virtualization technique. What are the advantages? Advantages like we can install multiple operating system in same machine, so we can reduce the cost of machines and cost of resources. But there are many disadvantages for by this virtualization, like it will be a drastic drop in the performance and efficiency will be dropped, and whenever we will boot the guest OSS, it will take a long time. This virtualization is a old technique. Now we are using containerization technique instead of virtualization technique. Containerization technique is a Docker technique. That means Docker is using this containerization. Containerization means it is a method where we will package applications along with all its dependencies. Dependencies means like libraries, tools, settings, etc. into a single unit called container. A container includes application code, required libraries, required dependencies, required configuration files. Everything will be packaged into one container. Docker is one of the most popular containerization tool. Docker is the most common used containerization software. It helps you to create containers, to run containers, and for managing containers also. Creating container using Docker, we need to write a Docker file. And after dockering a file, we have to build that image. Then we will create a container. Why containerization is better than virtualization? Because containers are very lightweighted. No need to install a full operating system like virtualization. In virtualization, we have to install a complete operating system. In virtualization, whenever we'll install any operating system, it will take a part of our computer resources, like it will take CPU, it will take memory, it will take RAM, everything. But in containerization, we no need to install a full OS. We need to just it will share the kernel of an guest OS, and it will work as an full operating system. It is very fast. Containers start in very seconds, even in milliseconds also. Efficiency also, we have a good efficiency when compared with the virtualization. Now, Docker containers do not have their full own operating system. Instead of having the full operating system, they will share the OS kernel for the host system. It depends on the host operating system only. If you use Linux operating system as a host operating system, then Docker use the Linux kernel directly. Containers run as an isolated process on the same operating system. If we are going to compare a virtual machine with a Docker container, these are the advantages. In virtual machine, the OS need to be installed completely. It will allocate the resources of an given host machine, like CPU, RAM, and memory. It will allocate into the virtual machine. But whereas in Docker, it won't take the full operating system. It won't take a complete ownership on the resources like CPU, memory, and RAM. For in virtual machine, it will have a separate kernel, but whereas in Docker, it will share the kernel of the host operating system. If you see this picture, we have virtual machine architecture and Docker architecture. Both we have to have an host operating system. In both virtual machine architecture and Docker architecture, we need to have an operating system. In virtualization, on top of operating system, we will install a software called hypervisor. On top of that, we will need to give, for every application we will install one operating system, and we will install all the dependencies like libraries, packages, settings, and on top of that we will install that particular application. Whereas coming to the containerization, we no need to install any operating system. Instead of operating system, we will use containerization techniques. So all the required libraries, packages, and settings will be installed on the particular container for that particular application. In hypervisor, it will allocate a separate resources like RAM, CPU, and memory. But whereas in containerization, it will share the resources with the host operating system. So containers are very fast and very efficient when compared with the hypervisor. Thank you.